Welcome, everybody. Today we have MCAK interview. He is a hip hop artist that worked with from the very beginning of my career, and the first person that ever put me in the studio and had faith in me and saw my potential. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Chris Bondi, aka MCAK, owner, 101st Airborne Productions, underground label that I started in '96, which is the year I put out my first solo album. Since that time, we've done 23 projects, whether they're my solo or groups I've been in, other artists. Um, but over 20 years in the industry, thousands of shows, thousands of songs recorded, and thousands of stories.
Oh yeah, it's you also make beats too, don't you?
Yeah, I had a part in my career where I didn't start doing beats. Once I got to a certain level, it intrigued me, so I started messing around, and I really got into it for about 10 years, and then I kind of tapered off. I still make a beat here and there, but not to the extent I used to. I kind of got really into it. It was a new challenge, a new arena as far as the music I was making. But I would say, yeah, I'm still a producer. The
Yeah,
producing part can be just as fun.
I'll actually share the day that I found you on eBay. I think um one night, so I had notebooks full of lyrics like a lot of artists do before they get beats and stuff. I was a writer for way long before that, and
Right.
the night before I heard a Ludacris song. um it was about kind of like making his own way, and I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I have to do this. So I jumped on eBay, and I found your beats and I liked them, and I ended up buying them. And
I don't remember that.
yeah, so I ended up, I think I ended up recording them, and then you invited me out to the studio to get on a couple tracks, and that's
Mhm.
5 days after I put out my first demo ever, and I handed
Damn.
it to you, and then I left, and then you hit me up and you said you saw a lot of potential and you wanted to sign me. Um, so yeah, that's how I found you.
I don't remember the eBay part, but that now I vaguely remember shopping beats. I know I was selling them online. I
Hmm.
didn't know I went that avenue. Um, that's interesting. I learned something.
Yeah.
But I do, I was trying to think back in preparation to the first time I heard you, and I can't pick out what song, but I do distinctly remembering. See, I've worked with dozens, if may over 100 of underground artists, and there's usually two or three type of people. There's people are doing it because they think it's cool and it's the in thing to do at that point in their
Hmm.
life. There's another type of person who thinks they're going to make money off of it because they see people on MTV. And then there's people that do it for the love. When I started, the thought of doing shows and doing albums was foreign to me. I just I just loved the art form and loved it. And I believe that came through with you because not everyone will go to those lengths to try to write and find a beat and find a demo and shop it. Um, that's even though that doesn't sound like a lot of work, a lot of people don't even want to put that work in.
Hmm.
They just want to find someone who has a studio, rap, and then not do the hard shit. So I do remember reminding me of you reminded me of me when I started in the '90s, as far as just making demos at home. I'm assuming you make it at home. Did you make that demo
Yeah.
at home? I'm assuming.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was making my demos on fucking boom boxes.
Hmm.
Um, my original ones. This is early '90s. Uh, but whenever I saw an artist who I felt had the passion for the music and that was their motivation for doing it, that always drew me to him because I saw parallels with myself at that point when I started. I mean, I wrote my first rap in 1990 and started recording um, like 91, 2, give or take. I wish I still had some of them tapes. I'd probably cringe, but
Yeah.
no, I was just making it because I liked it.
Hmm.
Just eventually my goals got higher.
Yeah.
But I do remember thinking that, and I at that point especially, I heard a lot of underground cats, and and I'm not just saying this because you're interviewing me, but I would bet 1 out of 20 people who probably even more, 1 out of 50 people that I either heard or would give me their demo or their tape that I ever invite to studio, because our studio, Band Center Studio, where I recorded for over 20 years, was our sanctuary. It was our home, and
Mm-hmm.
it was it was almost like it was a family atmosphere. I always felt, so I didn't just invite anybody over there. I felt we had. I only invited people over there that I had who I felt were in it for the right reasons. And
Yeah, definitely.
I read that in you. I mean, there's other people I thought that, and I ended up being wrong. But
Mm.
I don't believe I was wrong with you. And um, so when I started, I don't want to go off on tangents, but I remember so when I started, I would take, for these kids out here, they're not even going to understand this, but in order to get a beat, so I had 2 boom boxes. Look that up, kids. And I would take, so like, I put a blank tape in here and a tape of a rapper. Too Short worked the best because he always let his beat ride real long at the end of the songs. So let's say I get 30 seconds of that beat, stop, rewind it, stop. I do that about 5, 6 times, and I got a 3-minute beat. So then I got my beat on this cassette. I put it over here. Now I play it on my
Mm.
second boombox. I got a blank cassette, and I'm rapping into that while this speaker is up against that speaker. I mean, it was the most ghetto,
Yeah,
low budget shit ever. And I don't know where those original tapes are anymore. I'm sure they're garbage,
I
but
used to do that with I used to
that
get
wasn't the point. It was just I
yeah,
wanted to do it.
right. I used to have a little CD player. Look that up too, kids. But
Mm-hmm. Right.
I used to play the beat, and I had that little computer microphone. Those little
Yeah, the
ones.
real.
And I would put that there, and I would play that. And I didn't know any rappers. Like, I just started doing it because my bands were falling apart, and I grew up loving hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
growing up on Too Short and everything like that.
Right.
Like, my older brothers passed me down those, so I put that there, and I didn't know how to stay on beat or do anything like that. I could write, I know that. I've never had a problem writing, but like, I got better. I've never had like the most impressive like delivery or anything, but I mean, I got much better. But yeah, I remember those days of using that. Did not sound good, but I
No,
loved it.
that's the point. We were doing it because we
Yo.
loved it. We felt it. It was
Hmm.
it was something in us. I mean, I couldn't imagine surviving. Shit. I've been making music my whole adult life, and I'm in my 40s now. I I couldn't imagine getting through shitty things that life always throws at you. Music really was got me through it,
Oh
and
yeah.
even as a kid, you know, whether it was my parents getting divorced and I just lived with my dad, or just whatever happens, hip hop was my best friend. It,
Same.
and it was a friend that never I could always count on. It wasn't going anywhere.
Yep.
And I came up in a time. I was born in the late '70s, so when that first hip hop album was released in the summer of '79, Rapper's Delight, I was alive. I was a baby, but so we grew up together. Hip hop and I grew up together, and I always
Hmm.
looked at it like it was almost like a brother or a best friend who were the same age. So as I was going through real growing pains and adolescence, hip hop was kind of going through those same stages as far as being a joke and a fad, and it's never going to make it, and then just see it go to outrageous, lengths. When I was a kid, first hip hop I remember hearing, and it was 1985. I know that for a fact. And I had an older cousin who I looked up to. I thought he was cool. And we were outside, and I think he was skateboarding or some shit, but he was playing tapes. And the Run DMC song, King of Rock, came on, and it blew my mind. Like, how the holy shit. it blew my little mind that people could take the English language and flip it and turn it and rhyme it. It was unlike anything I ever heard. So funny story.
Oh yeah.
I'm obsessed with this, right? So I go to my dad. I say, Dad, you got to buy me this tape. And when I was a kid, I was deathly afraid of water. I would not go in a pond, a pool. I was afraid of water. My dad said, if you can back float for a minute, I'll buy you that tape that you keep, begging me about. Because I wouldn't leave it alone. Come on, Dad, buy me this tape. And he was a single father. He was working 2 jobs. We didn't have a ton of money. I mean, I don't want to get the impression that I was living on the street or super poor, but we weren't rich.
Yeah.
So I go out next time I was by water, and I did that damn backflip to get my Run DMC tape, and then it was just an obsession for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah.
The art form. It was my best friend, and hip hop got me through all the hardships of life. I actually can see that. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I can see that even in your music, how it's music is therapy to me. I mean, it's many things, but I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine not having it in my life. I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah, I mean, I got this tattoo, the shadow with the peace sign in it, the like chalk shadow, the body outline.
Yeah.
Because like, it really actually took me away from violent ways for things that happened in my past.
Right.
Like it's helped me through writing's helped me through everything, and like music was always there. Like I never needed like a therapist or anything. That was like my therapy.
Right.
Whether it's recording, you already know how it feels to be on stage and be in the studio. Like there's no other feeling to be doing what you love in front of people, having them chant with you, or just like going into the studio, joking around with everybody. Like the first time when I came out to Milwaukee to what is it, Band Center Studios. Yeah, I mean, you don't forget days like that. Like I was in the full experience. Like to be like 100% honest, I did sit behind Jesse, either the first or the second one, because after I took the money I made off my first album, and I actually like built my own studio with it, which isn't like the greatest ever, but it was good enough. But I sat behind Jesse and I watched what he was doing, and I learned a lot about how to like record, which is crazy because it was like free knowledge I was getting. So,
and I was a good person to learn from. I met Jesse in '99 when we were working on our first Rearranged album, and I mean, we clicked instantly. I mean, so from '99 to every project after, every single 101st project after that, he was my only engineer. I mean, he was such a important part of the formula for everything we did. I never ever would have went to another engineer. I mean, there's other engineers that worked at that studio, and there's a few times here and there whether Jesse gone or something, and I just needed something quick that I used. But Jesse and I were always on the same wavelength, and he passed away earlier this year, way too young. He was like a brother to me. We spent countless thousands of hours together in that studio, hunched over that computer monitor, tweaking and joking and laughing, and I mean, talking about each other's life. I mean, it was even beyond music. He was, one of my good friends, and just another example of someone we lost too soon. But if you're going to learn from anyone, he's a good person to learn from. His nickname throughout Milwaukee was Jesse the Great, because he was just so good at what he did. I mean, he was born to be an engineer. He just had an ear for it. And once we had worked together for a few years and we really knew each other, I mean, he would do as far as levels, and I never had to tell him where I needed my vocal level or how I needed something mixed. He just knew it, because we'd worked together so long. So I recorded easily over 1,000 songs with that man, and I wouldn't have wanted to do it with anybody else. He's amazing.
Yeah, sorry for your loss. That was a tough one.
Yeah, it was a loss to the whole, Milwaukee community. I mean,
Mm,
he had worked with artists as big as Mariah Carey and, and bigger artists. But even when, we developed a friendship, but even if someone just off the street came, he treated them the same as he would, a Grammy winning musician. It just who he was. And he was amazing. I mean, he had his faults, and some of that may have led to passing too soon. But he was an amazing man, one of my best friends, and it's too bad we lost him at 54 years old. I mean,
yeah.
that's too damn young. Yeah.
Hmm. Definitely. So I know we've spoke about Chino Excel before, but
Right.
I know you've formed a friendship with him. Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I can go back into that. The one we lost, you guys watching, we lost dope 15 minutes of interview.
Mm,
Um, it was about 2001, 2002. The more I think about it, I think the second rearranged album was dropped in '01, was out already. And I had a contact in California who knew Chino XL's manager. Her name was Stacy Castro. I don't think she's his manager anymore, but I don't know why that sticks out. So I contacted her because at the time I was writing album reviews and doing interviews for this hip hop website called Sewer Sounds, and they were putting out compilations and which we were on. 101st artists were on, but artists from all over, just underground artists, hip hop artists from around the U.S. was on these Sewer Sound compilations, and so I was asked to start writing. So I started with reviews, and the guy from Sewer Sounds, I believe, but I could be wrong, had it in to Sir Mix-a-Lot. So I was all over that. I mean, shit. Everyone thinks that Sir Mix-a-Lot is Baby Got Back, obviously, but I grew up on Posse on Broadway and old school Mix-a-Lot. So I did this interview over the phone with Mix-a-Lot, and it was cool. It was a dream. I mean, he's someone I listened to as a kid. He was great. Did the interview and got a lot of good reception from it. So that was his one in as far as big hip hop guys. So then we were both kind of talking, who could we get? And I heard about this Chino thing. And when I was growing up loving hip hop, my favorite thing was always the wordplay, the how they could twist the language. In '95, Chino came out with his debut album, Here to Save You All, and it blew my mind. I never heard anyone play with the English language the way he did. I mean, there's less than a handful of people in the world who are as lyrically talented as Chino XL. So long story short, I get to in. I asked to interview him for this website. He agrees and he invites me out to Cali. So Kane and I hop on a plane. We fly to Hollywood. We meet him in Burbank at this restaurant, and we sit there and eat. And I remember drinking a lot of beers and just talking to him. And I recorded the whole conversation. I still have these tapes. 5-6 hours we were there maybe, and just talking hip hop, and we clicked. I mean, it was like we knew each other our whole lives. So when I get back home, I type up the interview. Everything goes well, and at the time we're about to start a compilation called Masters of the Universe, and I'm thinking, I wonder if Chino will do something for it. We really connected. It seemed real, like we really were connecting. So I reached out. He agreed, and I can remember getting it back from his manager and him shouting me out at the beginning of the song and thinking, damn, teenage Chris would lose his shit over this. This is crazy. Chino XL said my name.
Yeah.
And then we eventually did songs together, and we just formed a friendship. And I mean, to this day, it's not like we talk on a regular basis, but if I mention something on his like Instagram, he always responds to me because it's me. And to this day, I would still call him a very close acquaintance. I don't want to go as far to say we're friends. I mean, but I would say we're friends. So as far as known industry people, he was the one that I really developed the closest. So,
I do
and
like.
luckily, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish. That's all good.
If you're going for big names, the bigger names I worked with were usually shows opening for people, and I've many good stories with that. But as far as doing songs, people that I grew up with, listening to, you know, he was the most fun to work with. There's other ones that were fun and cool to do songs with. But him and I just really clicked. I mean, he's a genius. He's a lyrical
Yeah, right.
genius.
Yeah,
He's a lyrical genius.
it's a different feeling working with someone that you grew up listening to. I do like Chino Excel still is one of the best lyricists. Maybe like he's at least top 5 out of anyone that people know about. Like
Without a doubt.
yeah,
Without a
like
doubt.
it's like so I can listen. So when you hear a song and you hear this one liner and like people like quote it on social media, you can't do that with him because like I'll hear it and then the next line I'll be like, what? And I'm like, you just have to hear the whole song because like the whole
Right.
thing's crazy. I don't know if you heard NDK did a feature with Chino.
I saw that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
checked it out when I saw that.
yeah,
Yeah.
he just goes crazy like they both do, but like
Right.
it's just even on his features he goes like he just gives it his all like and
Yeah,
then
he's a
I
lyrical genius.
he really is, and it's wild. I don't know that his brain's just wired like that. He's just too good. But my other thought, because you were talking about wordplay and stuff, my big one before Chino that like really made my mind kind of do that later on was Big Pun. And
Oh yeah,
I
he was
don't know what you
amazing.
think about him, but like the way he flows his lyrics like within each bar, the ends of his bar, like he's crazy.
Oh yeah, Big
It's
Pun was
yeah,
amazing. Absolutely.
yeah,
There's not enough lyrical, and especially now, I hate to be a grumpy old man and talk
yeah.
about how these kids ruined hip hop, which I sometimes do, um, because all the mumble rap and shit. But to, I think you're right. Their brains got to be wired different.
Mhm.
I actually remember once talking to Chino and him saying, if, when I listen to some rappers who are whack, I feel like I couldn't make a verse that bad if I tried. If my goal was to make a verse as bad as, I'm not going to say who he said, but it was a famous rapper. I'm not sure I could make it that bad if I tried. It's just I couldn't physically do it. And he wasn't even patting himself on the back. It was just how he approached it. And he was spitting me rhymes he wrote when he was like 7 and 8. And I mean, they were doper than shit on the radio. It was like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah. Just people riding trends. So yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of people that are in their class. I don't know if you've ever heard K Reno from Houston. He's definitely he's
Oh,
definitely
yeah, yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
definitely in the top 5
A
with
little bit.
lyricists.
Um, as
There's
far as
not
me,
like
you know, people that could make that I probably consider Chino the illest lyrically.
he might
Uh,
be.
he just might be. Royce 5'9" is up there.
I like
Uh,
Crooked Eye.
Crooked Eye is amazing. You know, the whole Slaughterhouse Camp for the most part just amazing. Um, when he's focused and wants to be, Eminem's at that level,
Hmm.
and a lot of people have strong opinions about him, but he's lyrical as hell. I mean, he's a true writer, which I
Yeah.
love.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a handful of people who you could even maybe compare to him as far as uh, lyricism.
So we can take it back if you want. So basically like there was the point when you offered me a deal and then I looked it over and then like I was just so new that I wanted to just try and experience it myself.
Right.
And I went and did my own thing and then we still work together. And then we had the time where it was Controversy, NDK, Soul True, and myself were always recording together.
Hmm.
And then me and you decided to set up that um, we set up that session, and you brought all your people, I brought my people, and we made that big. We just did a bunch of songs. It was fun.
Hmm.
We're all
Yeah.
joking around, just having a good time. And then like you ended up offering NDK and me a deal, and we ended up driving out to Sheboygan to one of your shows.
So this is where this all
Uh,
starts. Yeah.
this is what it all. We're gonna talk about the beef, everybody.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
Like,
can. I was trying to rack my brain and remember
yeah, yeah, yeah.
details. I
I
can
mean, we
tell you
might
from
have.
mine. We might have differing stories
I
now.
know because we've
Yeah.
never actually talked about this. So
Right.
everybody,
Right.
this is exclusive right now. Obviously, there's not hard feelings, and everybody squashed it honestly.
Right. Right.
Through the years, like so, my side, like so we drove out to Sheboygan, which was like I don't know. It was, I think it was supposed to be like a 4 or 5 hour trip or something, but
It was a
like
big
a
snowstorm,
big
right?
snowstorm
Yeah.
hit, and so it took us a little bit. And we got out there, and then you said we could perform, and then like you gave us the contracts, and then we were looking at them and went to find you, and you left, and then Fungi and Kane said that you left because of the snow, and we were like, we just drove in the snow for hours, like, and
Yeah.
he's not going to support us and watch us perform. So I don't know what you really like, if you really had to go or whatever, but we were kind of heated about it. So we ripped the contracts up and we left.
Right.
And then you hit me up on my way home and you're like, hey, they said they found ripped up contracts. And I was like, pretty much I was basically straight off the bat like, fuck you. Cause I had everyone like mad too. And it
Right.
was
It's
like,
it's easy. Yeah.
it was like my connect. So we were like, fuck that shit. And I
Right.
was like, you weren't going to support us, but you wanted us to sign with you. And like, we drove all these hours in the snow and whatever. And so we got back. And when we got back, because I remember we made the takeover MySpace page. Yeah, MySpace. Look that up too, kids. uh, so we made the takeover because we made ourselves a group because
Right.
we all worked together. We were doing songs. We were like, might as well just be a group. So we called ourselves the Takeover. And so we made that MySpace page before we went out there, and we put in this club our first single. But like you didn't see the page yet. So when we got home, we made I don't care. I honestly just think it was called Fuck 101. I don't even remember what the song was called. And
Yeah. I don't
so
remember anything.
we did this so we dissed you um like we dissed you guys, but like we thought Teju was cool, and I think I was like, and it discludes LEJ because I was cool with him, but like it was basically like aimed at like Fungi, you, and Kane for the most part. I'm not sure because I knew me and we knew Teju's not gonna like piss us off, so we were like, all right, okay, so we did this song, and then Soul True is a singer, but he rapped a little, and
Right.
he actually rapped on that track, and he killed it. So um I know it took you by surprise because you were like, what is this? You made a takeover
Mhm.
a page just to diss us because you thought the
Right.
takeover was that, but it wasn't. Um and so that's kind of where it sprung off, and then we started beefing a bunch. And then I remember Ted, you dissed me. Like there was that big posse track,
Right.
and
So
then Ted Ju was on it, but then I was like, oh, he's just standing up for his label. Like back then, it didn't make sense to me, like at first, but I was like, if someone dissed the takeover and said, "Except me," I'm still gonna say fuck you, you know.
right.
Um, then there was other rumors coming up, like I said something racist on a song.
There's a bunch of shit.
There was some guy going around like just making up a bunch of shit. I don't know who it was, but like
Yeah.
it
I
was a
don't
lot.
remember as far as I'll kind of do the same timeline. I remember the show in Sheboygan, and I remember it snowing like a bitch.
Hmm.
And I also vaguely remember making copies of Chino XL CDs for, I think, MDK. I don't know why that sticks in my head, but
Maybe
I
he's a
must
huge
have
fan,
heard that he liked
obviously.
them,
Yeah.
and I made like all the shit I had. Anyways, I know I left early. I was there with my cousin who was there to record it, and at the time we were about 40 minutes without snow away from Sheboygan, and I came with my cousin who was there to record it, and the snow was real bad, and I had to drag him there in the first place. So I perform, I do my set or whatever, and you guys weren't there yet. Um,
We came in while you
no,
guys
did I
were
see you? I
finishing.
did see you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I just remember he was bugging me nonstop. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. We're
Yeah.
never going to get home. And he was just on my fucking ass. So I left, and I don't remember every detail. If I didn't tell you, I didn't tell you. It was 15 years ago, more
Yeah,
maybe.
right. Yeah.
But I know I left early because my cousin wanted to leave. So it's Scott's fault.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I'm dissing
the,
Scott. No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
right. The next thing that I knew was you ripped up them contracts, but I think you also busted them CDs in half or some shit.
Yeah, I don't
And
remember that part, but maybe.
Double C, who was Fungi at the time, told me about it. And then I must have messaged you. But then when I heard that diss track and was like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
I left early and you're making this diss track? What the fuck? And then what the kicker was, I wasn't even going to answer at first, is so my wife and I were out and my phone rings, but I wasn't by it. So she answers and it was NDK and he's calling her a fucking bitch and just,
What?
yeah, talking crazy to her. And she's looking at me like, there's this fucking guy cussing me out. Who the hell is he? Why is this guy talking to me? So I get the phone and it's him and he's like, fuck you and your stupid bitch wife and fuck 101. He's just going off on me. So then we had it out because I'm like, you ain't gonna fucking talk to my wife that way. So I remember then letting the crew know what's going on. Like, they're dissing 101. I got this crazy fucking phone call. I mean, let's destroy their ass, right? So we went and did that war track, and it's something that I can look back on, and I have a lot of regrets, and I mean, you know why, and what I'm talking about, the verse,
Yeah.
and even though at the time I remember some of us being like, oh shit, we crossed the line, but at the same time, I don't want to make an excuse. I mean, I had the power. Personally, I had the power
Yeah.
to put that out or not put that out, and I
Yeah.
put it out. So that's on me, and I'll take responsibility. But
Yeah, we talked about that.
you get in the heat of the battle, and it's not an excuse, but
Yeah.
people are dissing us, and so I get the whole family in, everyone, and then you made more songs, and then I know Ted Ju made one by himself called Riplak.
Yeah, that was on me. Yeah.
I know he made that, and I don't remember how many you made, and I ain't heard them since they came
Yeah.
out, but there was a bunch.
Yeah, we were going in like just
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
so
my main problem was, I mean, I was dissing everyone because you guys were dissing me, but my main beef was I was pissed about that phone call where he
yeah.
was
Yeah, I
going
don't
off on
even
my wife.
remember like
So I felt that was crossing a line. So when we're in the studio and people are saying ill shit that normally I might pull off, I'm thinking of that. I'm like,
yeah.
well, if it's family, it's family.
Yeah.
And I was wrong to put that out, and I'll always admit
Well,
that. But
so basically someone was like, gosh, I think it I do. I think it was Fun Guy that was like, you won't believe who's on this track. And then it came out and like LEJ made the beat and stuff. And I was
yeah,
like,
he did make the beat.
I
Yeah.
was a little like too. I was like, I thought we were cool too, but like, I think we went after the three of you in the beginning mostly because you were all there, but it was
Right.
still like just a heated beginning. But And then he said he did it because I called him fat or something, and I was like, no, I didn't. So someone was out there, and then someone got at me. I think it was SOK that was like, you were saying racist stuff in a song. Like, what song? And they're like, it doesn't matter. You just did or something. So like, I don't know who was saying this stuff. Like, there's always this new stuff, but there's no what, like,
Right.
no way. Like, and I didn't say any of it. And like, but I did say a lot on the tracks about like
Right.
different people. But um, basically, yeah, like, so that happened, and the thing you're talking about, and I'm not gonna say who said it
Right. Right.
because like, because it, okay, so I'm just gonna say what it was. Someone said they were gonna dig up my dead mom and fuck her. So basically, like that that sent me off to like whole different levels. And then like
I'm surprised you didn't drive up here and
it's
start
I was
shooting at
close. I
people.
had to get NDK actually had to like stop me. I was
Mm.
going, but um, so basically that I even had a friend that heard that and like break his computer like on the spot. Like he was so pissed. But like people like I mean now like there's more like I think now if that happened there'd be way more like lashback from people on it. Like but
Right.
anyway, besides that, so later on he messaged me and basically said like he was on stuff in a whole different mind. Like
Right.
back when he did it and he apologized up and down. And I know like drugs and everything can make people different. So you know, we squashed it. And like it was kind of years after, but it was still a lot for him to go back and you know try to apologize to me about it.
I know for a fact he regrets it because we've
Yeah,
had conversations about it, and he was. I mean, he'll be the first one to admit that he had major drug problems for a long time, and
yeah.
um, he's
And if I was,
luckily he's kicked those demons now, and
and that's good.
but still
And me and you talked about it because we got on the phone one day when I was in the studio and I was just like pacing, and like me and you actually got on the phone about it one of those days. And so, like, you apologized up and down for it already, and you knew, you know, you regretted it immediately. But like,
right,
the thing is, like, um, it was actually really weird beefing with you because we were so cool and like it felt so weird, and I know me and
right,
you were the first people to squash it,
right,
and
right,
that's harder to tell to other people because me and you were the ones that connected everybody. They didn't know each
right,
other, so it was
right.
really hard to calm it down after that.
It was because I can even remember, in my camp being like, it's over, we're squashing it,
Yeah,
and even some people were like, why? You just like giving in? And it's like
yeah,
it never felt right. That's a good way to put it. As far as we squashed it relatively soon, I believe, after all the songs came out, and trying to get my guys to was harder. But like what you said, that original song where you're just dissing Kane, uh, Double C, and myself, and you were excluding Ted Jew on purpose or Lej. We had such a family atmosphere at 101st. It really was amazing that by making a song called Fuck 101 to Ted Jew, you were dissing him. I mean,
hmm.
that was his family.
Well, and it
So
was
there
like
was,
Fat Daddy Boo, and it was
yeah, it was all my people. I mean,
it
we're
was
all
who
we're
are
all
those
like
guys?
brothers.
Those Racine guys?
Oh,
They came at
shit.
us too.
Afterlife Records, you know what I think it was? They were in studio with us doing another
Oh
project,
yeah,
and we
they
had
jumped
started
on.
recording the
Yeah.
song, and they're like, what happened? And I'm telling them the story or whatever, and they asked to jump on because um, Afterlife Records, Rhyme C, he's probably opened up hundreds of shows for us um, throughout the years. And we've been working together for 20 years.
Hmm.
So he was never officially part of 101st, but he was an associate, very close
The
associate. And
Track Lacer was about the only one who didn't get on it.
you know who else wasn't on it? I don't think, if I remember right, and I could be wrong, I don't think Track Lacer was there, but I know Slangston Hughes was there. And as with other beefs we've had in the past, he pretty much refuses to do beef songs. It's his preference, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to make him.
Right.
I remember him saying he didn't want to get involved.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Me and Tracklay used to kind of talk. Actually, that studio session, I got him on one of my songs. So, and me and him were actually like kind of formed a different, relationship outside of
right.
all you guys. And he messaged me, kind of asked what's up, and like, there's never anything between him and I. But yeah, so
I think it was me, Kane, Double C, Teju, the Racine guys, SOK, LEJ. That might be it.
yeah, and,
Well, that was my core group at the time.
I know me and LHA still talk a lot. We're
Yeah.
actually gonna
No.
do another song, and then
Cool.
I don't even really record anymore. But if people ask me to jump on something, I'll do it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's kind of
So
where I'm at since I moved down to Florida.
yeah,
I have the itch. I miss the studio. This is the longest I've ever gone in my adult life not
me
being in the
too.
studio. It
Yeah,
sucks.
it's weird.
um, but as far as the beef, yeah, that's kind of how I remember it. Um, as with most beef, I had a big before this. So SOK, I originally signed them to in '98. Put out their first album in '98. They were the first non-me that I put out on 101st. Actually, that album only came out on cassette. Shows you how early in the game it was. But early 2000 rearranged days, I don't remember what happened. They were mad about something, and we had words, and then they made a diss song about me dissing, and they said something about my daughter who was like 2 at the time, and I lost my shit. But so we went back and forth, kind of like you and your camp did. Um, but we ended up squashing it. So when this arrived, I was confident that it would be squashed, because if I could squash it over someone saying something about my daughter, I knew from my side, because I did. I regretted that verse right away. That was wrong. And even though I let you know that, and it wasn't me who said it, I was the one with the power to stop it or release it, and I
That was
released it, and that's totally on me.
that was
I'll
the
always
one
take
guy.
responsibility for that.
That was the one guy that I always was like, I'll never squash ever with that guy.
Right,
But
right,
when he told me that he was on drugs and like he was a mess and that he's better now and he wanted to squash that, like
right.
I had to. Like my mom was on drugs. Like I got friends. They're different people. Like they're not
Absolutely,
themselves. So
absolutely.
like it's a different thing. That was the only thing that could have possibly made me squash with him.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like nothing after that. I still
Right,
don't want anything to do with them. And
right. Oh, I get it.
and
I get
because
it.
of that, I'm not calling him out right now. Like if it wasn't for
Right,
that, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be saying his name up and down.
right,
But like
right.
it doesn't matter anymore. And I don't literally hold grudges anymore. I don't let that anger get to me like it used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then, like that beef, like we were just quick to do it because we were younger. I was crazier.
Yeah,
Like
you're young and dumb,
yeah, just
and
I
when you
mean
got a
that
group of people, you feed into each other.
right, and we
I
did.
mean, I'm just as
We
guilty of it.
did.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's
That
like, you
right
gonna let
back
him
we
talk to
were
you like that?
you
Fuck
know
that.
yeah, that right
Yeah,
back we were yeah, feet definitely. So
yeah. But
yeah.
it did catch me. I wasn't expecting to see that this song. I remember being caught off guard by it.
Yeah, I had to do it to someone else after that, like years down the road, but he was a crooked promoter ripping people off. So I mean I once I called him out, a bunch of people came forward. So I don't regret that one at all. But I mean, so
So yeah,
um
it's kind of the story of the beef, the world famous
the
beef.
other thing too, like you did get me on one thing in that verse. You for sure. Uh you said something about having 101 on all my CDs or something. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't
But it's
remember my
true.
verse, but I.
but it's true though, because I did. I had you guys on like my first, at least my first three, or
Right,
after my first one.
right.
So what is like when you're writing? Do you have like a creative process? Like, do you listen to the beat as you write? Do you
It's funny you say that.
write in the dark, like like in the quiet?
As as far as I would say 90% of the artists I've worked with, and I've worked with probably hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say 90% of them, if not more, they listen to the beat and they write to the beat. They'll put on headphones or they'll go out to the car. A lot of people go out to the car, put the beat on and write. I don't think I've ever, and sometimes I wonder if that affected flow and stuff, but I never wrote to a beat. Every single song I think I ever have done, I've written it first, and then I found a beat that I think worked for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just my creative process. So I've always had like a book of one-liners and lines, and um, all of a sudden I'll be somewhere, and even nowadays, even though I haven't been in a studio for 2.5 years, I still have like a word pad on my phone, and if I think of a line, it's when inspiration hits me. Very rarely do I, unless I'm being featured on someone else's, do I think, what should I write a song about? And try to think of a topic. It's
Mm-hmm.
usually, if it's a serious song, things that are happening in life, or it's just thinking of ill punchlines, at least what I think is ill. So if we're in the studio and we're doing a song and it's just going to be a lyrical song, I got a notebook this thick of, some of them I look back on and they're whack. I was like, why the hell did I write that down? But and I kind of pieced together. So I would say, 75% of my songs, as far as just, if it's just a regular lyrical song where there's not one topic, are pieced together from this day I thought of four bars, this day I thought of two, and I just kind of try to weave them together. And looking back, sometimes I wonder, because my big, as an artist, you always critique yourself, probably the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But my big critique on myself is, I I never I always felt, how do I say this? I always felt confident that my pen game, my writing could hold up with anyone I was working with, for the most part. Not Chino himself, but
Not Chino. Do you
for
say
the
not
most
Chino?
part, yeah, not Chino himself. But for the most part, I felt my goal was to have the wittiest punchline, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I always hated on my delivery and even my voice. I always felt I didn't have a rapper's voice. I never felt I had the right voice for audio, but I loved it so much I didn't care. But I thought, if people can get past what I perceive as not the best flow and listen to the lyrics, I still contend. And I mean, lyrically, as far as punchlines, I mean, I I've always believed I'm above the average, um, just because that's the part of the game I've always loved. I love creating something where you gotta think or be like, oh shit, how do you think of that?
Mm-hmm.
Or and even beyond, not even talking about Chino, but even underground, I've had a chance to work with really good lyricists. Surreal from Noise Wave is one of the most amazing writers. Um, his pen game is bananas. Slang has always had real tight punchlines. So my goal was always to stand up to that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I mean, I can probably speak for most artists. I'll punch more holes in my shit than you will. It's just natural,
Yeah, I do that all the time.
right?
I do. Yeah, I mean, like that's how I felt. Like I never felt like I didn't like my voice in a lot of certain songs or like my delivery. I mean, I cleaned it up a lot, but like I
Right.
still know like I feel like I can outright just about anyone around here at least, but like I know some people have way better flow and style, like
Right. Some
I mean,
people
but
just
like
have the natural flow. I
it's
mean,
just like you said, like,
it's
but
natural.
I love doing it and I'm gonna do it.
Right.
So like I did a lot of it. So you put out, you said 20 20
23, yeah.
23. Like I put out maybe 14.
Right. Um,
So
and that's not counting the unreleased stuff. I remember this is over 10 years ago, trying to calculate how many songs I had recorded in my life, and I was over 1,000. That was 10 years ago. Just because I lived in that studio. I think this is on the lost part of our interview, but I lived in that studio. If I didn't have, so my daughter's mother and I broke up when she was an infant. So I had my daughter every other weekend. If it wasn't my weekend with my daughter, I was in Milwaukee in the studio, or I was at shows, or
Mhm.
I'd go after work, drive down to my, other than Sheboygan at the early part um, of my career, and then would drive the 45 minutes to Milwaukee, after work or every weekend. I lived in that studio and I just pounded shit out. I got so much unreleased stuff. It's so out of the thousands and thousands of songs, obviously, like you said, I cleaned up a lot. I felt, but I always hated on my delivery.
Yeah.
And but I some people take 2 years to make a 10-track album, and I mean I can just, and it's, I mean, I've been in the studio with people who will spend 4 hours on their overdubs because they gotta have them so freaking perfectly synced, and some people are just too anal about it in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not that I want to just be sloppy, but I never was that. I mean, all right,
Same.
that sounds cool. I wanted it to be
Yeah.
like we're the listeners are in a room with me and we're just ciphering and just saying dope lines. I didn't want it to be so plasticky and
That's like
clean cut.
NDK recorded me for like over 10 years, and like I be like there's sometimes I do it, I'm like, God,
Mm-hmm.
cool. And I'd be in the booth and
Yeah.
he'd be like, all right, do it again. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you could do it better. And I've like we did a lot of morning sessions. I'm not a morning I am a morning person, but I wasn't back then.
Right.
And like I'd start be, what the fuck, dude? You at least kept it, didn't you? Nope. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then I would do it again, and like it would be way sicker. Like I would just kill it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like you're right. Shut up, man.
Just like,
Like I used to be hard to work with though sometimes because I would just get my temper going, and I mean whatever. But yeah, I feel you. Like because there's sometimes I'm like, good enough. It's like no, it's not. But I mean, there's still some I walk away with. I'm like, I could have done better. Sometimes I re-record them, but like, yeah,
and it's weird. I Not that long ago I started revisiting my older catalog, and there's things that, wow, that holds up really good from 20 years ago. And then
yeah.
there's things from 5 years ago. It's like, shit, I shouldn't have released that song.
I've done, yeah,
you know, so it's odd,
yeah.
either you hit it or you don't. I mean, he's a sportsman. Sometimes you're just on, sometimes you're off.
Okay, so back to a little bit about the beef. And I know there's people I squashed it with, people I didn't. I actually didn't really squash it with Kane till I don't know, few years ago or something. I think we,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was around the time the other guy messaged me about his drug problem and stuff, and then I was like, man, I was like, I gotta squash it with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I hit up. I think I did. I hit up Kane. And then Teju, we had like he dissed me. I dissed him. I think yeah, no, because he dissed me in that song, and then I think I dissed him with the Murder in the Mill song, and then he dissed me back with R.I.P. Whack,
Right.
or Rip Whack. I'm not really sure
Rip
how.
Whack. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Rip Whack. I'll
yeah.
play off for Rip Whack.
So, um,
If I
yeah,
remember right, I haven't heard it in years, but I think Rip Whack was a more lighthearted diss than like War was.
yeah.
Um,
Then I didn't get to squash it with him, but my friends were in Milwaukee, like my guys, and they seen him on the street, and they were like, "Is that Teju?" and he's like, hey NDK, and like they recognize each
Right.
other and kind of chopped it up a little bit, but he's like, how's Riplak doing, you know? So basically, like, I felt like that was more of a closure thing, like, okay, yeah, like if he's asking how I'm doing and shit, then there's no hard feelings, you know. So
Well, Ted Jew was one of the most, another person we lost way too soon. May was just the 6 year anniversary. He was only 43, died of a heart attack. Um, but he was one of the most kind hearted people I ever met. And a pet peeve of mine is when someone dies and everyone says how great they were. They're the best person in the world. Where a week before they died, you probably would have called him an asshole. But he really was. He was the best out of all of us. Not to diss any of my people, but I mean, and he had the hardest childhood. He had the hardest childhood out of us, and he came out the most positive uh, person I've ever met. I mean, he was always smiling. He was always positive, no matter what was happening, and he was just a good guy. And he was known throughout Milwaukee. I mean, he worked them streets pushing CDs at the end of every Bucks game. I mean, I spent so many Bucks games out in front of the stadium selling CDs with Ted Jew, in snowstorms and rain and shit. And he lived on those streets to move music. He wanted the world to hear him, and he really was like a brother to me. Um, so big rest in peace to Ted Jew. Not only was he personally me, he affected the whole music community in Milwaukee, I believe. I mean, there's very few people from my generation who don't know who Ted Jew is. If they don't, then they really weren't in the scene.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, great person. One of the most unique flows you'll ever hear. Um, there's no mistaking a Ted Jew verse when you hear it. Not a
yeah,
lot of people who sound like him. He was so unique and distinct and different. Um, he was an amazing man. He went too soon. I think about him almost on a daily basis because we were that tight. Um,
yeah. I'm
it's a
sorry for
shame.
your loss. That's
Yeah,
I know you
it's
two
too
were,
bad.
and I got to meet him, and like he was funny. He was smiling. You guys
Yeah.
made and like that, like you guys made that smile song after he
Mm-hmm.
passed away, and you guys invited me to be on it, and like just the fact, like, I kind of felt bad we didn't get to like talk it out, even though
Right.
I knew it was like gone and not that big of a deal. But like just the fact that I didn't know him like you guys, I didn't do it. But like, I mean, I love that
I get it.
song, and like,
Mm.
I mean, this the idea of it was really cool. But like, um, yeah, I mean, he seemed like a great guy.
He was amazing. The good die young. He's an
Hmm.
example of that. And I almost felt guilty. I remember feeling guilty, like shit. He's a better person than me. I'll change places with him. As far as the universe, he could
Yeah,
have done more good than I'd ever do. Um, but yeah, amazing person. I can't say that enough. And I
yeah,
probably think about him every day, if not every other day. He, I still talk to him. Crazy thing. If you want to turn this into a paranormal podcast, um, it was about a week after he passed away, and I'm checking my email, and I have this email from Ted Jew's email, and it's just random. It's just like someone went on a keyboard, just random letters. I'm like, shit, that's really weird.
whoa,
And so I was thinking about it a day later, and I just said out loud, I'm like, Ted Jew, if you're trying to reach out to me, send me another email. And I got another
no
one, and it
way.
was just random shit. It was just like random letters,
Yeah,
but I got it's from his account, and I never ever got one from there again, ever again to this day. I mean, I'm not a super spiritual person, but I mean, shit, that had to be Ted Jew sending me an email.
yeah.
I felt so strongly about it. It was
I
amazing.
believe that stuff sometimes
Yeah.
though. I got stories on that too, but that might give some of my actual podcast away, so I'm not going to be
Don't
talking
give it
about
away.
it
Don't
right
give it
now.
away.
Yeah. So that's cool. Like, um, we have a lot of music memories together.
Absolutely.
Uh, I mean, you got me addicted to the studio. You had that faith in me that actually boosted me in the beginning because I was like, damn, I put a demo out and 6 days later I get an offer for a record deal. Like shit. Like that
This is
really
easy.
helped me, man. I appreciate you. I do. I appreciate everything. Like that changed my whole outlook on everything. And it kept me going. Like that was the kick in the ass I needed for sure.
Good, good. At that time, I was really seeking out talent. I was really trying to take 101st to the next level. So, like, I was getting people under contracts and things like that. And yeah, I didn't offer it to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I was definitely putting out like I said, I had writings for a while and they were deep. Like I have a lot of
right.
just that first CD was just so deep and you could tell there's a lot of pain behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so when you go back and listen to my albums through the years, I'm like just you could tell there's a lot there like going on and then like
A lot
I
of
go
pain.
through
Yeah.
this really my second one went through really angry phase. I was fighting a lot back then. I go through this really angry, but you and especially about like how my life went and like it just if you look through my albums you can see me getting less angry to the point where I'm like forgiving and like
Mm-hmm.
it's good to talk to someone else that understands that music is their therapy their whole life and it like you said it's your best friend like
It
saved
is.
my life
That's the best
saved
way to explain it. Yeah.
yeah so unless you have anything big you want to get out there to the world um
No, I got no projects. I moved down to Florida 2.5 years ago. And I miss home, but um, I always said I'm gonna get back home and record something. Now Jesse's gone.
yeah
It'll be hard working with a new thing, but Kane and I are talking about. I know you mentioned him, and that's another person I want to give a big shout out. I met Kane in '98, and he's been part of 100. He was actually the first non-MCAK artist on 101st. One of my best friends, amazing person. He's about to have his second child. Big shout out to Kane. Nothing but love. No one's ever. I mean, he's made more songs with me than anybody, hands
yeah
down.
I
Him
had
and
him
I
on
are
too
talking about getting back together and doing something. My cousin Ted from the Bondi Boys project has been on me a lot about doing another Bondi Boys album. Um, so there's things in the pipeline. I know I've talked to Boo about stuff. I've been doing some ghostwriting for Boo's new project, so I'm still in the game, but not deep. Um, but I still got my pulse on everything.
yeah
And my main man, Surreal the MC from Noise Wave, he's got some new stuff coming out. Um, I know he just released something on vinyl, which is dope because it brings it back to the essence. And you know, I've been so lucky to work with so many amazing people. All the people in Noise Wave I've known since the '90s, still friends with, especially Surreal and AP. Um, the people from Acid Rain, Horns and Halos, they opened every Rearranged show for about 2 years. Um, then all the 101st people, Tracklist, Fat Daddy Boo, Kane, Teju, Ellie J, SOK. I know I'm forgetting people, but I just want to show them love because they were so important to me. We really were a family. I really felt that, and you know, Kane and Teju stood up in my wedding. They were my
oh
groomsmen.
yeah
I mean, I'm an only child. Um, they were my brothers. I mean, that's slang. Slang Hughes. I mean, Rearrange is really what took me to the next level. When Slang and I did Rearrange in '99, that's when I started doing. That took us to me to another level, especially in Milwaukee, and we started doing shows all through the Midwest. And um, I owe a big debt of gratitude to Slang Hughes. Amazing MC, amazing person.
I remember yeah he has some nice rhymes
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
yeah
And another person I really connected with because he loved the culture. I mean, he's a year, like a year and a half older than me, and we we had the same memories of being about the same age when this album came out and this album
Mhm.
came out, and like, oh shit, remember when that BDP album? We just reminisce, and we did tons of shows together, tons of shows. We went if we weren't doing shows or our own shows or opening for someone else, we would just go to shows. I mean,
Yeah.
and hand out demos and shit. I mean, I know I'm forgetting people, but
It's crazy how strong of a bond you form with the people that you get close
it
with in
is.
music. It's
It
like a
is.
different world. Like I,
No one, no one will understand it like they will, as far as that
it's just
aspect of my
crazy.
life, right? My
Some
wife
people I
can't
talk,
understand it. My
it's
daughter
yeah,
can't understand it. I mean,
it's a different bond.
it's a different bond. You're completely
I've
right.
made brothers. Like I talk to people still like every day. Like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's crazy how I went from just you go from like high school and just whatever your friends from high school, and then all of a sudden you're in the music game, and now you just fuck with music people all over. Like it's
Right.
crazy, and it's
Oh yeah,
just different. Like you
it
get
is.
each
Yeah.
other, and you get what you go through, and
Right.
you go through those battles together, and you squash stuff. It's just crazy.
Sure. No
Um,
one else will understand camping out in the studio or hitting the
mhm.
road to do a show for
Yeah,
$20 or whatever the hell. You know,
yeah,
I can picture Slang and I driving to Paducah, Kentucky to do a show that I don't even remember if we got paid for. If we did, it wasn't a lot. We sure hell didn't make money, but we got to perform at a new place.
yeah. That was fun. I remember cars breaking down,
Oh
getting to the
shit,
place
yeah,
and the DJ
all
not
that.
showing up, the sound
Yeah.
guy sucking. I remember one of my shows, the sound guy wasn't even running sound and couldn't even hear a guy I had travel to come do my show. And yeah, I got mad.
I mean, I played
But
some amazing shows, but I played some. I remember a show in Milwaukee at a bar called Quarters, and, and there was more artists than fans in the crowd.
no, yeah,
And
that happens a lot.
shit, right?
Yeah,
There's like 5 people in the crowd, and we got like 3 groups performing that night.
yeah, hmm that
um,
happens.
but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Right.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like it's so fun getting on the stage. That's a whole different feeling.
It is, yeah. A switch flips. The minute you're on stage and the beat starts. I mean, it's like the outside world. At least to me, same thing with studio. The outside world is just turned off.
It does.
Any problem in my life is out of my
It
head.
it's true.
It's the
It's
only thing I've
100% true.
ever experienced where life's problems aren't in my head.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's true. Well,
so, yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. On always come back if you start running out of guests and you need to recycle.
I mean, we could go a whole another round, and we
Shit,
probably
yeah.
talked about stuff on the
Oh, there's a
recording we
million things
lost.
I haven't touched. I mean,
Yeah,
uh, I've done and seen a lot as far as industry stuff, and worked with amazing people. And even shout out to the known artists that I've worked with. I got to do a song with Isham, who I loved as a kid.
hmm
I got to do a song with Cam, which is Ice Cube's cousin, who I grew up listening to. Um, EA Ski was one of the most underrated producers in the West Coast, and all these people I'm lucky enough to work with.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure I'll have you back on, and thanks again for taking your time. Like, it's good. Like, it's just good having somebody that shares the same passion.
Right, right. Yeah, it was
So,
my life. Yeah, it
yeah. So
really
yeah, we'll
was.
definitely have to keep in touch, and then we'll get this. We'll get another one of these soon.
Yeah, and when it
Hopefully, it doesn't
drops,
drop in and out.
yeah, right, you'll have it figured out by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, when this podcast drops, I will shoot it out on social media, and hopefully you can start building a listener base. And
Yeah,
I'll be
for
peeping
sure.
out every podcast. I even peeped out the story of you eating worms. So
Yep. Yep. The next one's even crazy. It's insane. It gets crazy. It's my story builds fast and
right.
crazy. So, but yeah, you're the first one. Thanks
All
for
right.
being my first
Yeah, no
person
problem.
for interview Mondays, and take care.
Yeah, you too, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anytime. All right. See ya.
All right, later.